Good afternoon, everybody. It is March the 22nd, 2026, and we are closing in on nearly a month of this war in Iran. And for those of you who follow it, I'm sure most everybody is. This as we've been bombing Iran now for since February 28th, and Iran has essentially blocked the Strait of Hormuz since February 28th. Now, that's not a complete closure. It's only closed to U.S. affiliated, owned, associated oil tankers. And anyone who is an ally of the United States cannot get through. Other countries are able to get some tankers through, but overall, the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz is almost zilch. It's down about 95% from normal. Now, this is really important because most of the world depends heavily on oil out of the Persian Gulf, especially Asia, China, and the United States. Even though we don't get oil directly from Iran, it by limiting this much oil coming out raises the price of oil, which the United States has to pay for. It's a global pricing situation. So even though we're not dependent on Iran for oil, we are impacted by the economic dynamics of it. And here's where Trump has incredibly miscalculated incredibly. He didn't think Iran would do this. He was told by people that, you attack Iran, they're going to probably close the Strait of Hormuz. That's their strongest asset that they have, the strongest hand they have to play. And he said he didn't think they would do that because they want the revenue. Well, they did it, and it is really hurting everybody. You've seen gas prices going up. That's going to affect the prices of everything. It creates tremendous instability around the world. Now, it's not just gas prices, there's also liquid natural gas, which is being impacted as well. So it begs the question, what happens now? Well, yesterday, Trump, he's desperate now. I mean, you can tell by what he's saying how desperate he is. He's now telling Iran they have 48 hours to open up the strait, or he's going to violate the Geneva Convention and obliterate all of Iran's domestic energy production. That is basically create a blackout in the country, destroying all of its electricity. That, by the way, is against the Geneva Conventions. Those targets are not considered appropriate targets for military intervention. Those are civilian targets, civilian energy infrastructure. So that's what he's threatening to do. Iran is not conceding. I don't think they will concede. I think that they'll just cause them to deepen their determination to block the Strait of Hormuz. So, what does this mean? How does this play out? Trump is obviously desperate. He completely miscalculated here. We have bombed the hell out of Iran for nearly a month and destroyed much of the country. And they're still standing. They're still there. They still have a defiant, theocratic, Islamist government. They're not backing down. And his thought that he was going to produce regime change and there would be a rebellion and democracy hasn't happened. It's not likely to happen. He's, and he didn't think that they would do this. So this has really not gone very well strategically. Tactically, it's been a great success. We have tactically destroyed, thousands of sites. That's, a lot of shock and awe. I mean, we dropped a lot of bombs. We spent $200 million of munitions, depleting our munitions to do this, but we haven't gotten any results. Other than a wrecked country, we haven't had regime change, and now we are putting ourselves in a very bad position with this closure of the Strait of Hormuz. So, what happens now? There's really only three ways this can play out. One is that somehow it all ends quickly. Um, Trump says, "Okay, we're done. We're leaving. Please open the strait." Iran says, "Don't attack us anymore." And Trump just puts his tail between his legs and runs away. And the strait reopens. And within a month or so, we could see gas prices, come back down. That's not likely. I don't think he's. I don't. He's too stupid to just and too arrogant to just put his tail between his legs and run away and declare victory. He might do that, but I don't think he'll do that. The next scenario is that we settle into sort of an intermediate range military conflict where this goes on for several months, and in which case this is an energy shock. For those of you who lived through OPEC in 1974, this will be very familiar to you. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries stopped exporting oil in 1974, and it caused a real global situation. If you were alive back then, and remember, we had gas lines and gas prices quadrupled, and it pushed inflation up, very high. Interest rates for mortgages went up to 18%, and we had the mess of the late 70s, the stagflation of the late 70s was all brought about by the OPEC oil embargo. Well, we can see the same sort of thing happening. This is another energy shock like the 70s. And the impact of that is very significant economically. I mean, the 70s were not a good time economically, and we could see the same sort of thing happen again. And then there's the third scenario, and that is of a protracted military engagement that goes on for much longer, several months or perhaps even into next year, in which case what we will see is the precipitation of a significant global recession. Global GDP will drop significantly, inflation will rise, energy prices will soar, there'll become mandatory energy rationing. Maybe not initially in the United States, but in certainly many other parts of the world, we could see a shortage of energy. And this would produce a tremendous pain economically all around the world if this thing just drags on and on and on. So those are the three scenarios. I think if this isn't resolved by the midterm elections, Trump is going to get destroyed because people express their frustration at the polls. That's all. It's the economy, stupid. When you wreck the world economy and everybody suffers because of it, you can expect you're not going to win an election in November. So I think that if this isn't over with enough time for economic recovery by November, Trump, who is already likely to get slaughtered in November, will clearly be slaughtered. And that will be the end, effectively the end of the Trump regime. So I think the most likely is the middle's one. They're going to try to beat up Iran more, get some open, get the Strait open, and just sort of mitigate the global economic impact sometime well before November. So I think we're looking at probably 3 months more of this poorly thought out excursion. Now, look, I'm not a fan of Iran. Um, I don't like terrorism. I don't like what they have done sponsoring Hezbollah and Hamas and all that. And I'm all for regime change and taking out their leaders and doing it. But this, going about it this way, was really stupid. Trump really miscalculated. And he's playing with the entire world's fortunes. He's playing with the, the peace and stability and the prosperity of the entire world, all to play his little war games. It's an incredible miscalculation. And I also fear it's going to backfire badly for Israel because at the end of the day, Iran survives and they don't have to resume their effort to build a nuclear weapon. They can just buy one. They just have to buy one. There are plenty of countries that would be happy to provide them with a nuclear weapon. Pakistan, North Korea, maybe India. They've all been hurt by this, and so don't be surprised if. And we know that China and Russia are clearly helping Iran, and that's one of the reasons why we're not. We're winning in tactically, but we're losing strategically. And if this doesn't end soon, it's going to be a very grim. There'll be a very grim economic impact being felt across the world in just a matter of a few months. So this has to end, uh, I think, in the intermediate term. I don't see it going into a long, dragged out thing. That's political suicide. I don't think a short, and a settlement and a ceasefire overnight is likely. So I think the middle, um, intermediate term scenario is most likely what is going to happen. But in any event, you can expect gas prices to rise in the United States, in California, perhaps as high as $7 or $8 a gallon. If this goes on very long, could reach $10 a gallon. In the rest of the United States, somewhere something less than that. But still, you're going to see gas prices $2 gas and $3 gas. We won't see that again for a long time, as long as the idiot in chief keeps playing war games.